There was a very solitary, introverted guy around the 19th century. His name is Friedrich Nietzsche. For those of you who may not have seen a picture of him, my recommendation is go online and take a look at one of his pictures, and you can usually see his image with this huge mustache. One goes this way, the other goes that way. And his girlfriend, he had two girlfriends, but his first girlfriend and his philosophical companion for a few weeks asked him once, "Frederick, why not shave your mustache? If not shave, at least trim a little." And in a very poetic way, he looked at her and said, "Sometimes you look into someone's eyes and you can see their soul. But people are disrespectful. They look at your soul without any permission. You haven't given them permission." And I realized that there is something about me that's very inviting, but it's always the wrong people who are invited. And I don't even invite them, they invite themselves. So I decided to grow a mustache, a huge mustache. So instead of people looking at my eyes and seeing my soul, they can simply see my mustache and be distracted by it. And I know that Nietzsche didn't much know about Islam, especially about Sufism, because had he known much about this particular tradition, he would have known that there was a tradition long before he was born. It's called the Malamatis. Malamatis had come to realize that people for the most part are fools, in the sense that life is tough. You got to take care of finances, you got to take care of mortgage, you got to take care of your kids, you got to take care of your parents, you got to take care of the certain pleasures that just come upon you. Life is just troublesome. And so they had come to realize that one of the best things you could ever do for yourself in your life is find a way to liberate yourself from the judgments of other people. Don't care about what they think about you, how they see you. Free yourself from that. And there was this guy by the name of Uwais Qarani, that Muhammad, this is the Prophet of Islam, before he was going to die, he gives his cloak. And I don't know if you guys know the significance of the outfit that's worn by teachers. My dad is 93. Every time we talk, I say, "Dad, remember, I want your underwears. I want to wear them when you die. It reminds me of who and what you are and how I was created." And we always, get a good laugh. Muhammad gives his cloak to Omar and Ali and says, "Go give this to this guy whose name is Uwais, lives in a place called Qarani." And so after many, many days of walking, they eventually get to this place called, the city called Qaran, and they say, do you guys know this guy named Uwais? And people say, why do you want to look for this man? He's a very strange fellow. When people laugh, he cries. When people cry, he laughs. And that's the Malamati tradition, that do not put too much stock in the way people see you and the way people judge you. People are confused. And, don't give the judgments of confused people too much value. So, I borrow the story from this man again named Friedrich Nietzsche. I think his story is missing some components, so I'm just going to add some to it myself. For those of us in this class who have children, one of those people is me. The kids come out and they are naked. Not an ounce of shame or guilt that they are naked. They are like the old epic of Gilgamesh, a man named Enkidu. In the Sumerian language, the name means the most innocent of mankind. He's organic, he's instinctual. He pees in public and doesn't care. Actually finds it fun and enjoyable. He goes around the house and just breaks things. He climbs the walls. I tell him, "Son, I have cancer, I'll die tomorrow." He laughs, says, "I love you, Dad, see you around." And there is something to be said about the innocence that all of us have at the moment of birth, and it stays with us for a number of months. If you're lucky, for years, depending on your social environment, your familial environment. And in the language of Nietzsche, we're all born like lambs. You're not made into a shish kebab just yet, you're just lamb. When something pains you, you cry. Tears roll down and you have no shame. When something pains you, you scream for your mom's hug. And you don't sit back and say, "Wow, codependency is bad." And you innocently go to your dad and say, "Dad, what's sex?" It's just a word. And you call your dad and say, "Dad, what the shit did you eat this morning?" And then, they haven't yet been contaminated by the social structure. So as they use this foul language, for them, it's actually fun and it's quite innocent. For the father who's concerned about the future, that this may in fact be the way they're going to speak for the rest of their life in a social setting that's quite punishing, It concerns me. I don't see the innocence, all I'll see is worry. Then something really devastating happens. As parents, you have no choice but to be worried and concerned. So you teach them ethics and morals, do's and don'ts. You're black, born in 2025, and someone tells you that, listen, the white man did A, B, C, D. And all of a sudden you realize that society does something quite horrifying. It puts on your shoulder history that you never asked for, and you have to carry that history. I'm Persian, speak the language, sing the language, read the language, and I'm burdened by 5,000 years of history, and I can't shake it off. She's black, she's burdened by a history that she had no hands in creating, but she reads books and she feels burdened. You signed up for this class only to get an A or a B or a C, and I burden you with these, I suppose, heavy ideas or thoughts. They're emotionally charged, and you realize that at a certain age, people make you responsible for things that you don't want to be responsible for. I don't want to do math. I don't care what Einstein said about the importance of math. I don't want to stop at a traffic light. I get to campus around 4 in the morning. There is not a soul in the street. The light is red. There is no one there, but there are cameras up there. And I don't want to pay my money to a government that doesn't care for me. So I stop, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait for 20 minutes. Not a single car on the road, but I wait. And I realize that politics and society creates inside me fear, anxiety, dread, despair, confusion. I didn't ask for any of them. You shouldn't lie, shouldn't cheat. Some of you are going to use AI in writing your essays. The truth is, if you had a relationship with these ideas, intimate relationship, using AI would be considered cheating. It's like cheating on a companion. But you don't have a relationship with these ideas. You're burdened by the responsibility society has put on your shoulders without you ever asking for them. What else can you do except to have ChatGPT write this essay for you? More power to you, by the way. And then, like me, you go up to the 7th floor and you ask your supervisors, come on, man, I need more classes. We have part-timers. And they give you this bullshit language, concepts. At a certain point, you realize that all of us, we're no longer lambs. We're like camels. We walk into a life, it's desert filled with sand, no meaning, it's hollow. Nothing good grows. به کشت خاطرم جز غم نرویه، به باغم جز گل ماتم نرویه، به صحرای دل بی حاصل ما گیاه ناامیدی هم نرویه. It's one of the things that the ancient Greece was really, really good at. Socrates, tragedies. All lambs will suffer a life that they never asked for. You marry a guy, you love a guy or a gal. You do everything for this man or this woman. And in the end, you find that he's been seeing another. And that's what the Greeks wanted to impart to us. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter what you do in life. Shit happens. It has nothing to do with you. Bad things happen to good people. All of us are born good. We are like lambs, but we are turned into camels. And for those of you in this class who have ever been to the Middle East, and if you've seen the life of a camel, it carries loads given to it by other people. And if you've ever seen the path that the camel has to walk through, it's a desert, no water, scorching hot, no sleep, gets whipped. Why do we become camels? Most of us are fearful of our future, and rightly so. We are creatures of comfort. We want security, we want stability, we want money, we want power, we want control. And there is only way to attain them. Not by dropping school and going to Yosemite thinking that you're going to live a hippie life and it's going to be happiness ever after. No, you have to live in society. And society is going to burden you. You're going to follow its do's and don'ts. You have no choice. Some of you in this class should have been done with school many decades ago. But you wanted to continue your innocence. You want to go out and scream and have a good time with life. But eventually you realize that life burdens you. Psychology burdens you. Your physical body burdens you. You can't just be a freeloader for the rest of your life. It doesn't work. You come back to society and there's a good amount of conflict. Is it worth giving up my innocence? It's a stupid question because you got no choice. Now, not all of us, some of us, we have these moments where you look yourself in the mirror Say, I just don't want to carry the history anymore. It's not mine. I didn't create it. I don't want to play the script anymore. And these are inspired moments that get you really sad and depressed. Maybe Pindar was right, the Greek poet. Maybe we only really get married because psychologically something about us tells us, Amir, you're going to get old, you're going to get sick. Make sure you get a companion. Amir, loneliness is not fun. That's the only reason. Even in great love relationships, if you examine it very carefully, you realize for the most part, it's profoundly transactional. You give, you take. You give, you take. You give, and if there is nothing to take, there is conflict. Some of you in this class, I've had these moments. This guy is stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He keeps telling jokes, saying stupid things. I'm going to drop the class. But all of a sudden, the fear created by society, manufactured emotions, come into your psyche. And you realize, well, you have to carry what society has created. It's not going to feel good, but you got no other choice. There is this very, very, very special group of people. They don't have to be whipped like camels so that their knees can be broken or bent so that they could be offloaded. At a certain point, whether it's midlife crisis, whether they realize that the pressure of living in society is really just gives you ulcer and cancer and just kills you. You say, you know what? I just want to unload. I don't care about the value system of society. I want my innocence back. But there are two kinds of innocence. For those in this class who've read the New Testament, unless you become a child, you will not enter the kingdom of God. For those of us who have kids, kids are innocent, but they're also very stupid. What Jesus should have included in the footnote of that phrase is that a mature sense of innocence is good. That leads to the kingdom of God. Not a sort of innocence that's stupid, where eventually you force your parents to punish you, that you have understood a few things. You don't undress in front of just anyone. You undress when you trust a companion. You know that they're not going to hurt you, harm you. This other stage in Nietzsche's story is that you get this sense that you have this understanding of this picture of life, that life burdens all of us, things we don't ask for, and yet we are forced to carry. At a certain point, you realize you no longer desire to carry what society gives you. You raise your hand and you say, I signed up for a philosophy class. I paid money for it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what the system says. I don't care how many degrees you got. I am interested in the love of wisdom. Teach that to me. Now that takes a lot of courage. 30 people in a room, they're all going to look at you weird. I have power over you. I have power over your future. And yet you don't care about any of that. Now that is a good innocence to have. Will society punish you? Absolutely. Will you be an outcast? Definitely. Will your future be in jeopardy? Yes. But what you have is your innocence. As James Joyce would say, paradise lost is no more, you have found it. You have found happiness in pain. عشق در دریای غم غمناک نیست. If you love the right people for the right reasons, I mean, you love your dad. He's got stage 10 cancer. It's a painful scene. Well, you are happy because you're there loving him and helping him. How could you be happy in pain? Now, of course, I haven't really talked about the conflict between being a camel and between realizing that you become a camel, and also your desire to unload all the burdens. I mean, there is this battlefield going on inside you. You gotta know how it feels when no one has any power over you anymore, when you're not guided by anything. The confusion, the anxiety, the despair. And even in this class, I've read the life story of Don Juan, not the Don Juan who taught Carlos Castaneda, but the Don Juan who's addicted to sex. You haven't, have you? A man who is just bored and depressed and sad because he can't find meaning. As T.S. Eliot would say, dry voice, hollowed soul, walking through dry grass, going nowhere, doing nothing. Don Juan has sex because it's the only thing that can give him 5 seconds of pleasure and meaning. The rest of life, it's like a desert. When you realize, as Siddhartha did in Hermann Hesse's book, Siddhartha, that life is a big lie and your senses add to the lies. And all these narratives filled with lies are created. And you buy these narratives only to realize that the world has deceived you, you have deceived you, your best friends have deceived you. And you throw away all these narratives. And then you become this stupid guy named Socrates. You walk around. Why are you taking a class? Well, I want to be educated. Really? Education means to bring out. Is that what happens when you go into the classroom? What exactly is it that your instructors bring out? Anxiety for a quiz? Is that what the function of education is? A more pronounced desire for money and social status? Or is it the retrieval of your soul, creativity, intelligence, awareness, mindfulness? And for those of you in this class who have ever tried to bring anything out, it's because it's lost, it's forgotten, it's under an avalanche of shit. For those of us in this class who've been in long-term relationships, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Once in a while, your companion sits next to you and says to you, you know, what are you going to do for Valentine's? Valentine's? The hell Valentine's? I don't care about this Christian saint. And what she's saying is, what happened to us? Can you write me a poetry, 2 lines of poems, the way you used to? And what he's saying or she's saying is this: our relationship is under an avalanche of life's politics. Bring out that passion. Where the hell do you go to find it? How do you find it? Can passion be manufactured? Can you bring back a passion, i.e. love, that's been contaminated by the politics of life? Can you go against the organism of life, which is the following? The more exposure to anything, the more saturation. The more saturation, the less interesting it's going to be. For those of you in this class who are like professionals in the realm of sex, you meet someone, you fall in love with them. And that passion, love, it has its own language, and it's not through words. It's through 2 bodies grinding against each other. There comes a point where that language no longer works. Now you actually want to sit and use words, talk about various aspects of life. And you know, Socrates goes around trying to remind all of us that we have become camels. The genius that lives inside us has been held hostage by a society, a system that cares nothing for us. Let me diverge and tell you a different story. And I'll share with you a little bit about the life of Socrates. His life is a little under a fog of mystery. No one really knows who this guy was, like Jesus Christ, if he actually existed. But what little I have read, Socrates was on this quest to find eudaimonia, 2 words, which means the demon of happiness. It's a demonic force. And we say it's demonic because it doesn't come from down here, it has to come from above. By chance, or maybe hands of fate, I don't really know, he runs into this old woman whose name is Diotima. She lives in a hut. She's not married, she's got no kids. She's very much like one of those temple prostitutes in the ancient world, Iraq, i.e. Samaria, where parents send their daughters at a very, very young age to be trained in the art of love. They get to know biology, these 10, 12-year-old young girls. They get to know psychology. And if they're made in the right way, the gods above come down and occupy their soul. And the task of these prostitutes, i.e. proficient creators of love, is to remind the men when they bed them that sex is not just about having a climax. Sex is not just about having an orgasm. Sex is about finding your soul. And it's not a quickie. It's not an hour. It's not 2 hours. It's not 5 seconds. It goes on for days. Diotima, when he runs into Socrates, or she runs into Socrates, or vice versa, there is something you need to know about these very, very special relationships. And I don't really know how it happens, or why they happen, how they exist, and how they come about. Something in you awakens upon seeing another person. Now, in a very fancy, hippish language, I would say that you have found a soulmate. But a soulmate doesn't really much care about your body, except that it can only be used to retrieve wisdom or retrieve soul from it. So Diotima and Socrates meet, and Socrates says, I think I have found my teacher. And Diotima says, I think I have found my student. Now, one of the things about teachers and students is the following. Teachers want to hand off their baton to someone. They don't want to die and carry their wisdom, in the grave. So a task of a teacher is forever look for a worthy student. And that is tough. If you look at our human history for the past, let's say 5,000 years of written language, we've only had maybe 10, 15, 20 messiahs. Malcolm X being one, Freud being another, Karl Marx being another, of course, the ancient sages, Muhammad, the Buddha, Jesus, Moses. So society or the human being or humanity doesn't really create the space where many sages are created. For Socrates to be able to receive what Diotima has, he needs to fall in love. One of the things about love, it's like a Dyson vacuum cleaner. For those of you who've ever gone to Costco, and they have like this aisle of different vacuums, corded as well as battery operated. Love. It's like a Dyson vacuum cleaner. It erases your history. It erases your ambitions. It removes your desires. You become hollow. But you've become hollow in the hands of a very, very proficient human being, Diotima, or Shams and Rumi, or Jesus and John, or Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad. You need that. Without having a clean interior, you can't receive anything. And just in case you do, it's going to be contaminated by the stuff already there. If that's a little too difficult to understand or too esoteric for some of you, let me give it to you in this way. If you're on a date and the person sitting across the table from you keeps talking to you about his or her ex, they are still filled with their ex. And you say, man, do I really need to compete with the memories of this ex for the next 5 years? I can't do this, I'm out. There comes a point when you become like Socrates, profoundly arrogant, going around town asking people difficult questions, making people feel bad about who and what they are. And something really interesting happens to you as you realize that at the very core of life, life has nothing to offer people. You begin to develop arrogance. You can checkmate people. It's not going to be a problem for you, like Socrates. How the hell are you going to tame the arrogance that now lives inside you? Now, English is not really the best language for philosophy. In the Islamic tradition, you have 3 egos. One is immature, one is semi-mature, and the other is very, very mature. Nafsul mutma'ineh. Read the Gospel of John, for those of you who are interested in understanding what a good, healthy ego looks like. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus refers to himself twice. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus refers to himself twice. In the Gospel of Luke, he refers to himself 5 times. In the Gospel of John, he refers to himself almost 50 times. I am the bread, I am the life, before Abraham, before Adam, only through me. I am this, I am that. Now that is a guy who knows who and what he is. You don't need to go to a church. Gaze upon me and you will feel what a church looks like. You don't need to read a book, just listen to me. How do you slay an ego that wants to become a tyrant? A healthy ego talks, comes to realize, well, the person simply does not have the ears to listen and walks away without making the person feel bad. There is this wonderful story by this Afghani man named Idris Shah. There are some mixed reviews about this man, but he's got lots of wonderful books out there. One of the best books that he has is called Learning How to Learn. And he says when he was younger, he went to his father's study without permission. He grabbed the book, came out, but forgot to close the door. The father looks at Idris and says to him, son, I think I went into the study, but I forgot to close the door. Can you go there and close it for me? And the point of the story is the following. If you look at your son and say, God damn it, you went into my study without my permission and you left the goddamn door open. Now go close it. Whatever relationship you may have built with your kid, it could be destroyed by the way you speak to him. But he doesn't have the ears and he doesn't have the proper observation. So you play with him. You say, I left the door open. Can you please help me close it? At a certain point, Nietzsche argues this dragon of arrogance comes forth. And you know what dragons are good for? They breathe out fire, destroy everything. You come to class sane and you leave insane. You're married and then you file for divorce. You're social, you become asocial. These are not good things to do to people. At a certain point, you gain some maturity. Another dragon comes about, but it's not really a dragon, it's a lion, the king of the jungle, devours a dragon. But this lion brings back something that you've always been looking for, a maturity that's filled with understanding and innocence. And once this lion devours the dragon, you go back to what you've always been, a lamb. But a lamb has been a camel, a lion who's been a dragon, a lion who's suffered arrogance, and a lion who's become a lion.